Go. We're on Pedestrians, and I will present. SF streets perilous for pedestrians. On average, more than two walkers are struck by vehicles every day. By Victoria Colliver, Chronicle staff writer. More than 800 people are hit by cars in San Francisco each year, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the state and possibly the country for pedestrians. This is a city that last year was named the best walking city in the country by the American Pediatric Medical Association and Prevention magazine because of the many city agencies assisting in walking issues. Yet more than two pedestrians are hit each day on average, accounting for about a quarter of all injury crashes and, according to some reports, nearly half of the city's traffic fatalities. The streets of San Francisco are especially dangerous in, before I continue with that sentence, human cost of traffic in San Francisco. More than 800 collisions involved pedestrians in 2008. 35 people were killed that year. Pedestrians account for about half the people killed in traffic collisions in San Francisco. Pedestrian collisions are most common at intersections, on Fridays, in December, and between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. Collisions on San Francisco streets cost an estimated $280 million per year, or about $350 per resident annually. The costs include medical care, property damage, insurance expenses, and loss of income. Source: New York City's Pedestrian Safety Study and San Francisco data. San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, October 21st. Now let's continue with that sentence. The streets of San Francisco are especially dangerous in December, when shorter daylight hours, holiday swollen numbers of pedestrians and cars, increased alcohol use, and winter weather lead to the highest number of pedestrian vehicle accidents. The problems aren't all in December, however. A series of daytime collisions last month showed just how dangerous the city streets can be. On November 17th, 65-year-old Nuha Dam was struck and killed by a UCSF shuttle bus at lunchtime while crossing Geary Street at Leavenworth, 2 blocks from her home. On November 2nd, a hit-and-run driver, who was later arrested, killed 70-year-old Joyce Law as she was crossing Cole Street at Waller shortly before 8 a.m. Later that same day, around 5 p.m., a 79-year-old woman, whose identity has not been released, sustained life-threatening injuries while trying to cross Bayshore Boulevard at Bacon Street. Each of the victims was in a crosswalk when she was struck. Why isn't that seen as a priority public health problem? Asked Dr. Rajiv Bhatia, Director of Occupational and Environmental Health for the San Francisco Department of Public Health, about the article. This article was conceived and produced as a project for the Dennis A. Hunt Fund for Health Journalism, administered by the California Endowment Health Journalism Fellowships, a program of the University of Southern California's Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism. Transit problem. With the high number of pedestrian fatalities, both locally and nationally, is typically viewed as a transit rather than a public health problem. There's a federal goal for zero airplane fatalities and a federal goal for zero railroad fatalities, Bhatia said. Yet we have these acceptable levels of people getting hit by cars and killed. When ranking traffic fatalities per 100,000 residents, including people killed in cars as well as pedestrians, San Francisco fares worse than such far larger cities as New York, London, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, according to a report released in August by the New York City Department of Transportation using 2008 data. While San Francisco obviously is a dangerous city to walk in, the city size may skew the numbers. Since the city is relatively small, with fewer than 800,000 people, and has a large number of pedestrians, especially downtown, the number of people hit might appear high when based on per capita rate. Inattentive drivers. The San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency released a report in October that found that the actual number of fatalities has consistently declined over the years, although the city still has a higher percentage of such deaths than other major cities. Motorcyclists who fail to yield and inattentive drivers are the primary causes of the accidents. Pedestrian advocates say the 800,000 pedestrian collisions a year, a number that has held fairly steady in recent years, is far too many, no matter how it's calculated. You don't really need to know more than the number of people being hit, said Elizabeth Stamp, executive director of Walk San Francisco. The absolute number in issues of health is what really matters. While the health effects of traffic include pollution, noise, stress, and higher rates of asthma hospitalizations, pedestrian injuries are a blunt measure of the human cost of driving. The top 10 most dangerous parts of San Francisco for walkers are concentrated in the financial district and the Tenderloin, south of Market and Bayview neighborhoods. While those 10 U.S. Census tracts are home to less than 4% of the city's population, they account for about 21% of. Okay, 21%. We'll continue with that sentence in a sec here. Let's look at this. Okay, so we have the pedestrian injuries in states, larger cities. A comparison of pedestrian injury collisions in 2007 in California, cities with more than 250,000 people. San Francisco, 107. Pedestrian injury collisions per 100,000 residents. San Francisco, 107. Los Angeles, 76. Oakland, 72. Long Beach, 65. Sacramento, 54. Stockton, 52. San Diego 46, Santa Ana 45, San Jose 35, Fresno 30. Okay, now pedestrian injury collisions in 2007. San Francisco 822, Los Angeles 2,906, Oakland 260, Long Beach 297, Sacramento 242, Stockton 152, San Diego 592, Santa Ana 149, San Jose 320, Fresno 144. Then you have the population there. Okay. All right, that'll be the end of part one of the pedestrian.